morning, everybody. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz. This is NFL Total Access. Thanks for being with us tonight. We will get to Washington and Dallas and all of your highlights, of course. But first, we have some breaking news. Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Ravens, has tested positive for COVID-19. This just coming into our NFL Total Access newsroom. We will bring in now Ian Rapoport, who has more on this story, has been over it since it broke. Ian, what more can you tell us about Lamar Jackson testing positive for COVID-19?
Well, MJ, several Ravens players over the past couple days have tested positive for COVID-19. The tally as of this morning was 8. That included several staff members as well as the Baltimore Ravens try to contain a coronavirus outbreak in their facility. I am now told by several sources that Lamar Jackson, the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, the former MVP, has tested positive for COVID-19, headed to the COVID-19 reserve list, which obviously for the Baltimore Ravens, who as of right now are still scheduled to play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, would mean they would need a new quarterback. And Robert Griffin III is their backup quarterback. He has obviously plenty of starting experience. He is someone who is a veteran, and he will now be called upon for emergency duty. And for the Baltimore Ravens, it has been a difficult and trying week as they attempt to control this virus inside their facility. They have disciplined a strength and conditioning coach for failure to report symptoms and for not always wearing a mask. This has been what their week has been about, and now it gets punctuated by their star quarterback, Lamar Jackson, testing positive for COVID-19.
In a very complicated, a very trying week for sure. As you mentioned, I want to bring in David Carr and Michael Robinson. I mean, we've been talking about this matchup. It was moved from today to Sunday. David, now them losing their starting QB because he tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, and this is a huge hit because there is not another offense in the entire league that is more closely tied to their quarterback. This offense runs through Lamar Jackson. Everything that they do is off of his ability to make dynamic plays with his feet. And then the play action comes, and then the throws come. But it is all from Greg Roman being brought in, John Harbaugh, what he was trying to build here. It was all tied to number 8 right there that you see on that screen. So for him not to be there, yes, you have veteran guys in the back. You get Robert Griffin can come in and he can do his thing, but there's no one that's as dynamic. So this offense is going to look vastly different with Robert Griffin jogging out there. And then it raises the question, how many more of those positives are going to be guys that are crucial to this football team having success on the field? So it's not just Lamar Jackson. There's other components that are in there. They've had the injuries on the offensive line. They're already going through a whole bunch of struggles. Now they're hit with this. It's something that everyone's having to deal with. The entire league's dealing with it. The entire Raiders defense was on the list last week, so those guys didn't get to practice. This affects guys during the course of their week, and they're used to being in a rhythm, in expecting, knowing what to expect day in and day out. If that's not the case, they're creatures of habit. It can really affect you. So they got a lot of work to do to try and replace that guy because he's obviously league MVP, and again, the entire offense goes through him. So big shoes to fill.
Well, and this also raises several questions, guys, including, does Lamar Jackson have symptoms? If he does not have symptoms, he could be back a minimum of 5 days. If he does have symptoms, you're looking at 10 days and another game missed. That is one thing, and so it's not just, okay, he's out for Sunday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a huge game, obviously, for the reeling Baltimore Ravens, but how many more games is he out? And I think that's one thing, and it is not a perfect situation for the Ravens, far from it, but so much of 2020 has been about just making do with what you have, trying to adjust, trying to adapt, trying to win games amid a pandemic. And, this is a battle-tested, tough Baltimore Ravens team. They have been handed a tough one this week, and they have no choice but to somehow come out and play and try to make the best of it.
Yeah, Ian, it's going to be a little bit more pressure on that defense. Defense definitely is going to have to step up and put a stop to opposing offenses. But I do think having RG3 in the fold and having him be your backup quarterback, you don't have to totally abandon the offense. RG3 does have some of the same movement ability now. He's not a runner like Lamar Jackson is. He's a guy who can throw the football. He's a passer who has running ability, which is a little bit different. So he's not the type of runner that Lamar Jackson is. So I wouldn't run him on all of the same type of plays. But before we let you get out of here, I got to ask you this. What are you hearing from the Baltimore Ravens? Is there possibly any way that they could call Colin Kaepernick? I know that could be far-fetched, but I can't think of another quarterback on the streets right now that can step in and run that Greg Roman offense that has some wheels as a runner to be able to run the same offense so that the play isn't dropped off that much. Are you hearing anything about Colin Kaepernick in this particular conversation?
You know, I'm really not. And one of the issues here, it's not just do the Baltimore Ravens have interest in Colin Kaepernick. Remember, in the past they have. The most recent past, that's many years ago. I have not heard anything recently. But even if they did want to bring in Colin Kaepernick, you're talking at absolute minimum 6 days. So he would not be, remember, because the player has to pass through COVID-19 protocol, so he would not be in by this game, might be in somehow by the next game, and then at that point, theoretically, Lamar Jackson would be back. It's just to bring in a player so quickly during this COVID-19 season is difficult, and it certainly changes the way teams acquire players.
And guys, Rob, to your point about the difference between Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin III there, the run ability can't even be compared. So, David, what, in your eyes, would be the expectation for RG3 stepping in here for Lamar Jackson?
You know what's funny about that, MJ? In that situation for RG3, having watched him over the last couple of years, when he steps in and he plays, he actually plays pretty well. And I've been in that situation where you're a starting quarterback, then you're relegated to a backup role, and you want that opportunity. And I guarantee you, Robert Griffin, although he's upset that Lamar's not going to be able to be there, they're probably boys, they're tight, they sit in the same quarterback room. He's ready for the challenge. Robert will play good football. I really believe that. He'll go in there. He'll make the throws that he has to make. Rob alluded to it. He's a good passer. He can throw the football. He's seen a lot of defenses. He understands that. And I still think that he has enough leg ability, enough athletic ability to where if he has to pull it down and run, he can still utilize some of those runs. I think he'll play actually really well. I'm excited to see Robert get a chance to go out there and play again.
Well, and they
to be honest, David, go ahead, Ian. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about the near future. Let's talk about there's still, as of now, a game on Sunday. And yeah, I mean, we've been talking so much about the Baltimore Ravens and not having Lamar Jackson. What about the Steelers side of it? I mean, they're undefeated, and I know the players are frustrated, taking to social media, very upset that the game was postponed. Well, now they face the prospects of not having one of the best players in football on the field. I mean, for the Steelers, who all of a sudden, being undefeated is legitimately possible, and this game just got a lot easier for them. I mean, I hate to think about it that way, but there is a football aspect of it, and that's it. And so for the Steelers, I mean, they went from being frustrated that the game